here. I'll have a pen. Okay. Alright, so really briefly, reproduction plants are usually in two categories, sexual and asexual. You're like, no, we know that, Miss Enlow. But there's a couple of different types of reproduction. Noah, why are you on the computer right now? Take notes with me, thank you. So, asexual and sexual. Sexual is going to just be, what are the two sex cells of a plant? Think about flowering plant. Pollen and the sticky stigma grabs it, but what's down inside of the whorl? Thank you, the ovary, which has ovules in it. So sexual is going to be including anything where you have, not sperm, where you have pollen and an ovule. Okay, and that's just usually for flowering plants. Other ways that plants can reproduce are not going to be sexually, they're going to be asexually, where they kind of branch off or they replicate their cells in a different way. And it's going to make identical copies of those cells. So the ones that we are going to focus on are budding, and that's actually another form of that's called clipping or making cuttings. Has anybody ever taken horticulture? Okay, have you remember cuttings where you cut like an apple tree and you take, so if you just kind of, if you have the apple tree like this and you make like a little notch in it, you can put another branch of another tree type, like maybe like a grape vine or a pear tree. You can actually blend their DNA and you make a hybrid. So you've maybe heard of pear apples or grapples, where you have the grape flavored apples. Who's ever heard of that? Yeah, some of us. They actually do some in like Walmart. Okay, so they actually can blend their traits through cuttings, and that's just a different kind of mating process. Anyway, so we're going to talk about buddings, cell division, and vegetative propagation. Okay, so just mainly those three, and they're just basically new types of reproduction for plants. Vegetative propagation, an example of that would be strawberries or pumpkins or potatoes, anything that has like a vine and they grow on. And I don't know if you've ever seen strawberries, but they kind of, their plants start to grow out and radiate out, and they kind of like insert whatever the new plant into the, they make roots in a new location. So it can spread out really wide. It's like on a vine. We're not going to focus on this as much, but I just want you to write down the example of vegetative propagation, strawberry. Just write down strawberries. And the runners are what I was talking about. You can kind of see it. Let me turn the lights down though. You can see in that image right there. So vegetative propagation, that's going to be strawberry plants. And then potatoes, they actually can be something similar. Who's ever accidentally, maybe help a mom or something, or dad in the kitchen? No gender stereotypes here. My dad was the best cook. My husband is the best cook. I'm a good baker, and that is it. I can burn some stuff, though. I'm really good at that. So potatoes can do the same thing. If you've ever seen, like under your cupboard, they actually start to sprout from the eye of the potato, not like a seeing eye, but just like a little notch on it, and actually can start vegetative propagation there. Obviously, there's no soil, hopefully, in your cupboard, so they can't actually root, but they can start to try to spread. So that's basically it. That's asexual, though, so it's going to make identical copies. All right, these are the actual tropism things I want to get to today. Write down these three first terms, and then that definition, and I'll explain that as we go. Oh, and then I didn't actually tell you guys this. Keep your EOC packet on your desk all day, because I will get to it when we get to the lab. All right, phototrophism. Trophism is just a response, and that's what we talked about yesterday with our vocabulary from matching. But phototrophism is just responding to light, so photo means light. That one's pretty self-explanatory, I think, and you've seen that happen when a plant is leaning towards the light at the end of the tunnel, like in a window, for example. So you can actually change, if this plant was leaning towards the light and you switch the direction, it would go back to it would still lean back to the left after a couple of days. Gravitrophism. So gravi refers to gravity, and that one is basically the plant knows which way is up. It can sense the area or the direction of gravity. So plants know, or they have an adaptation, this response system, that allows them to detect one, where light is, and two, where gravity points to, because they know the sun is up, so they have to start growing up. So even if you turn a plant upside down, if you have a potted plant and you turn it upside down, over a period of time, the plant will start to grow up. It'll start to turn the stem in a way that grows up, because it knows it shouldn't be growing down. Who's ever experienced when you touch a plant, it responds in some way, like it closes its leaves, or it moves. Not like you push it, but it moves. Yeah. Example? Right, a Venus flytrap. If you touch it really lightly, it knows. It actually doesn't. If you just touch it kind of in a harsh manner, it doesn't close, because it needs to detect something like fly-like or insect-like, which is a very light and delicate touch. Also, vines have a thigmotrophism ability, because they touch another plant and then they rotate around it, because they need to constantly touch like a tree branch or something like that in order to climb. So it's responding in its growth pattern to touch. It needs to feel something else. A mimosa plant. If you go to Ichabod, you actually grow these. The plants that, if you kind of stroke the leaf, all the leaves shut. Has anybody ever seen those? Maybe? Well, okay, get out more. But that's just one where it responds to touch, because it closes up its leaves for protection. Photodiapirosum, I'm going to skip that because that's not important right now. Thumbs up. I see a couple more people writing. Okay. These are just special response adaptations of plants. Okie dokie. And I'm going to skip those. I think that's all I want to do for this. Oh, no, I got to go over these. Okay, these hormones. These are your 4 hormones that you have to know about plants. And basically, just like humans have hormones, we respond to a certain type of hormone. Plants do as well. So these 4 hormones, and this should be the last of the plants, I'm thinking, right? So auxins elang. Auxins elang. I don't know how I always remember that. But they are going to help make the plant grow taller, okay? Grow higher, so that they can attain some sort of sunlight or water or air if they need a certain amount of air. Because sometimes growing really close to the ground means that you maintain too much moisture before other organisms can get to, stuff like that. So what kind of plants do you think produce a lot of auxins? Right, tall trees, right? So that would be like maybe redwood. The redwoods of California, or not California, I forget what the park is called. Redwood National Forest, something like that. They are obviously going to be producing quite a bit of auxin, because that's going to allow them to continually elongating themselves and growing higher and taller. Gibberellins. Cool word. Gibberellins is going to also, it's really similar. It's like a growth hormone. It's a gibberellins growth. That's how I remember that one. But it's going to cause it to grow taller, but also help with that production of different parts of the plant, specifically the fruit. So sometimes it's going to make the leaves grow larger, but most of the time it's going to be increasing fruit size and production. Have you guys ever seen those oranges that are just massive? Like, they're the size of a cantaloupe almost. Like, they're just huge. I always call them like they're the oranges on steroids. Okay, they're huge. They're really good. Or you may have seen grapes that are like almost the size of a golf ball. Okay, so that's actually in this image down here. You can see this is a normal bunch of grapes, and then this is one that they've injected extra growth hormone, the gibberellins. Who's ever heard of injections of human growth hormone? You know, they actually have inserted that gene for the human growth hormone into what other organism? Cows, and then the cows produce it in their milk, and then people drink it. It's called bovine human growth hormone. So they can do that, and this is just a plant version of that. Cytokinins. These are cytokinins are cell chemicals. Okay, cyto means cell, and then so I just remember cell chemicals cyto. So I'm trying to give you little ways to remember these terms. And this is just a chemical signal that signals for the cell to start to either grow and divide. It also actually communicates other things. There's a ton of cytokinins, but the one we specifically refer to is when the plant needs to start to grow and make more of itself, and needs to be signaling for cell division or mitosis to occur. So this one's a growth, kind of a growth hormone as well, but it's because it's signaling for mitosis. All right, who's ever experienced, like, let's say you have bananas in those, sometimes they sell them in bags, or, yeah, probably bananas we just seen, and they ripen super duper fast. They get brown and spotty kind of fast. Thank you. All of us have experienced this. I think so. Okay, and it's probably because the bananas themselves are putting out this ethylene gas. Tomatoes are very good at this as well. It's because they need to tell the rest of their cells to ripen, to get, make the hard part of the fruit go away and go to like a softer version of the fruit. So it needs to be able to tell itself to do that. But sometimes if we capture that gas, like for example in a bag or in the refrigerator in a drawer, it ripens super fast. Okay, so one really good way that humans manipulate this is because if people who buy fruit from Florida, maybe they buy it 2 weeks before it actually gets to your shelves, your grocery store shelves. They have to transport it. They probably pick it really prematurely. Like, they pick it when it's still super, super, like, hard and it's not ripe at all. So I would never eat that. So right before they put it on the grocery store shelves, maybe in transport on the way to the grocery store or a day or two before, they'll put them in a big container and they'll shoot in a bunch of ethylene gas. That super excites the production of the ripening of the fruits, and so by the time it hits the grocery store shelves, it should be starting to ripen or almost all the way ripe. Because you don't want to buy stuff that's too ripe, too brown, but not hard as a rock, because who's going to eat a plum that's hard as a rock, okay? So humans actually abuse this power of trying to manipulate the plants. All right, so what were gibberellins for? Growth, specifically growth of what? Fruit. Cytokinins? Cell division. And then auxins? Right, so just growth hormone, but elongation, not so much fruit production. Okie dokie. Here is, well, do I want to show you here? I'll show you here. So there's basically, I'm going to just start with one lab for the plant, and if we have time, we'll move on to the other ones. The one I really like to do is a flower dissection, because you probably never actually understood what the parts of a flower were. So whenever you start, you're going to draw the table of functions. You don't have to draw the table of the anatomy of the plant, because you've already kind of drawn that. After that, you're going to dissect the flower, and you're going to place it into the individual parts. So you're just going to lay the parts all together, and then you're going to answer the questions on it, okay? So I've got, let's see, I almost have a flower almost for everybody. Oh, good for you. Okay. But I don't want you guys working hard because you probably won't know. So whenever you come back here, I'm going to let you guys kind of choose what you sit mainly. You're going to grab 2 pieces of paper. This is what you're drawing on your drawing card. You're drawing this one on your own booklet. This is just like right away the flowers. That's that big symbol? No. The one with multiple lines? Yes. So you're going to grab one of these, and you're going to grab a flower, and then you're going to separate to another book. You're going to probably do this for about 10 or 15 minutes, okay? Grab a partner. Let's go, she goes. Actually, let's get groups of 3. Groups of 3.
It's so There's a new one. There's always a new one.
Yeah, the gossip girl comes to an end. Yeah.
Alright, other papers? All right, 10 minutes on the clock. Let me see if I can find you guys talking. Michael, you guys don't have papers, right? This year group?
What?
This year group doesn't have papers.
But I think
The two tables, part 2 and part 3. All year long. Oh, here, I got it. It's part 2 and part 3. Anybody text you?
No, I mean, what's my phone?
Okay. The fact that all your robots you left it. I rescued it.